Right. Okay. So welcome to this training. And this training is being organized by Sterling Careers Limited. We are a training and a coaching organization established in the United Kingdom with a global reach. So let's talk about today's agenda. First of all, I'm going to talk to you about Sterling Careers, and I'll be very brief, I promise. And then I have a co-host who's going to join me. Her name's Ty Richards. She's a PMO consultant and expert. She will talk to you about her profile in a minute. And then I also have some amazing two ladies who are going to come on to share their own success stories. They've been with us before, and they are, have gotten their success stories. They're project managers. Well, they're in the project management field at the moment. So they'll share with you how their journey began and how they got to where they are today. Both of them actually have joined us. They've come back as mentors. So that's a great success story right there. And then we will also have a behind the scenes scenario activity as well. And that's essentially to show you, it's more like a simulate the whole project management environment for you. And we believe that everyone who's here is obviously interested in getting into the project management field, just to become a project management professional, whether it's as a PMO analyst or one of the project management support roles. And so we believe that's why you are here. And so we will show you behind the scenes as well. So a mini project which you all will get involved in. And I just want to ask that you interact, you engage, you ask questions, or at least pop your comments in the comment section. So we'll do that, so that is another one that's really going to be very, very interesting. And then we'll tell you what we've called our value proposition. So how can we help you if it's something that you're interested in getting into as well. Can you let some people in? There's 4 people waiting in the Emmanuel. Thank you. Okay, so let's dive into it. Let me tell you about Sterling Careers. So like I said, we are established in the United Kingdom. We are a training and coaching organization. So we train, our focus is really on project management, business analysis. We recently included data protection and privacy. That is my area as well. And also we've got the PMO Analyst program, as it were. Okay, so that's not on there, and then we have a few offerings that we're looking to also introduce in the new year. So what we do, our style or our model is really very hands-on. So we will show you, we will obviously go through theoretical aspects with you, but then we're very hands-on because we believe that organizations are looking for people that can actually hit the ground running and can do the job. So it's not about all the certifications, even though we believe in certifications because we believe that they give you an edge. You can check me out on LinkedIn and you see the number of professional certifications that I have. So I am a big believer, but we also believe that you need to know how to blend, the theoretical aspects with the practical. And that's kind of what we are really, really, really big about. And so essentially what you do is you learn the theory, we show you how to do that, and then you come on, to work on live projects, real life projects. So they're not dummy projects, but real life projects that you will see come to life, once you've gone through. And we use what we call a bootcamp style. So it's really, you just have to be committed. So it's not a case of just sitting on the fence, you have to get involved, okay? So we believe in hands-on experience because we believe that is really what makes that journey really quick. So we are made up of a team. So I'm the director and CEO of Sterling Careers, but I have a team that works with me, and most of them are professionals across different domains. They're experts across retail, financial services, higher education, travel, automotive, pharmaceutical, amongst others. So they are quite experienced. And how does our program is such that it's all virtual thanks to COVID. We used to have, this session, we probably have had it, somewhere in London. We've had some sessions in London, Birmingham, and a few other places where you come in, you just you have that live experience. But of course, we've gone fully virtual now because we believe that we can cover, we have a broader scope, a broader coverage, and so everything is virtual. And so our classes, our sessions, our contact sessions, as we like to call them, are all virtual, and weekday evenings and Saturdays, because we also tell you, don't leave your job yet until you get that job that you're looking for, until you make that successful transition. And so most of the people on the program are still working. Okay, so this is our team made up of myself. I've got Kaushalia, we call her Kush, who's also has been in IT for about 15 years. I've got Laide, Esther. Esther is going to come and she's going to help us with that little piece of activity that we're going to be doing. Esther was also in care, but she got into project management as a contractor for a university. And then we've got PK, who is a BA trainer, just joined us. And then Helen Williams, who is our head of operations. So a little bit about me. Like I said, I'm the director and CEO of Sterling Careers. I came into the UK about 17 years ago from Africa, Nigeria to be precise, for a master's in strategic human resource management with the University of South Wales. Yeah, but then I started a family and I struggled to get into HR, even though that was my passion at the time. That was what I really wanted to get into. But it was a bit challenging, okay? And so in that process of trying to get into the HR space, things just weren't happening as fast as I wanted. So I had to settle for customer service jobs, for teaching assistants. So I did everything, you know, for a couple of years, but I just felt like I wasn't really satisfied and I wanted more at the time. But then eventually someone said, oh, have you thought about a career change into the IT space? And I said, well, I don't think I can do that because I'm not techie. My husband has been in tech for close to 25 years. But I said, no, I'm not techie. I can't get into IT. I don't think it is for me. But cutting the long story short, I decided to give it a go. And I started exploring business analysis. And my first job was IT business analyst for a university. So to cut the long story short, I eventually, took the plunge, as you will say, and I made that career change into IT business analysis. And I've been in that domain for close to 10 years. But then as I went on, I started coming across people, especially people like myself, people that look like me who were struggling. Some had come from different parts of Africa into the UK, you know, and also looking to kind of, to get that foot in the door, to break in, into the corporate world. But a lot of them had ended up settling for less than what they really wanted. But then I started showing people to say, right, you know what? You don't need a technical background to get into tech, and there are several ways that you can leverage your transferable skills. Cutting the long story short, I started helping people to get into that space. And I have a few testimonials to show. 5 years ago, I decided I needed something more specialist. And then I went into the privacy, so your data protection and privacy. A lot of you know about GDPR, and that's where I've been for 5 years, and I lead the compliance department for a global organization. We're across 60 countries, about 10,000 employees strong. I look after 40 brands. So I do that on my day, and I still do that on my 9 to 5. But of course, on the side, I'm a career coach and a trainer. So that's my story. I did struggle. So a lot of you might be here, and some of you may have come across my story before. And that's why I'm very passionate, especially because I know a lot of women take a career break, to look after the family, and they lose confidence because I was there. Trust me, I did that. But I help you to be able to gain that confidence again and to be able to pick up relevant skills that you need to make that smooth transition. And that's what I'm passionate about. Okay, so that's all about me. And then we've got our guest host. I think she'll introduce herself. Her name is Tyra Richards. She is a PMO expert. I don't know if she's here yet, but yeah. So I already told you about my career change story. Because of time, I won't go into that anymore. I'm just trying to look for Taya because she is meant to come on in a few minutes. So the point here is, it is possible for you to break into becoming a project management professional all that you need is that support. All that you need is knowing how to go about it, how to pick up those relevant skills, how to even leverage the skills that you currently have that can be transferable, whether it's into PMO, to become a PMO analyst, any of the project support roles, or even business. I mean, some of you might actually be interested in business analysis, but maybe you just decided to join this training. We also offer help as well for those who will be looking to get into other areas of IT. It's just pretty much getting that right accountability partner, someone who's been through this journey and can guide you and help you and show you, what steps that you need to take. Okay, so with that being said, I will try to see if I can find Taya. I'm not sure she's on here. That's fine. She was meant to just kick things off now. But whilst we wait for Taya, so we would just go straight into a few bits here. People are still in the waiting room. Please let them in. Okay, let's check. Emmanuel, sorry about that. Can we see anybody else in the waiting room? Please let them in. And that's fine while we wait for Tayo. Okay, so now Tayo is an expert, of course, and she's going to talk about, what you need to do to get started if you're looking to get into project management, as an example. So there are several routes that you can consider what we call them. We call them the easy routes or easier routes to get into project management, as an example. And so Ty is going to cover that, and then we will come back and say, okay, what does a PMO analyst do? What is the day in the life of she's here now. What is the day in the life of a PMO analyst? What is a project coordinator and other project support roles? What does that look like? And what do you need, for you to be able to break into this career path? We will cover that. And then, like I said, we will do some behind the scenes to just let you know what a typical project environment looks like. What are the tools, what are the templates, what are the documentations and deliverables that you need to be aware of as a project management professional. So we will go into that in a minute. So this is just perfect timing to hand over to Tayo. Tayo, I see that you're in. Welcome, and please take it away. I will manage the slides for you. Thank you, and welcome again, everybody. Okay, so while we wait for Tayo, I'm not sure what's happening. I can't hear Tayo.
So sorry, I was there rabbiting away.
Okay.
And of course, I've not unmuted myself. So I'm going to start again.
That's okay.
Good evening, everyone. Hope you've all had fantastic days today. So I'm just going to jump straight into this because I'm pretty sure that Duke was giving you the background that you need. So let's go to the next slide, please.
Yep.
So what do you need to get started? So the context that we're working with is that, a lot of you are already in careers, and what you want to do is you want to cross over into technology, and even more specifically into the project environment. And because one thing that I'll put out there is that what tends to happen a lot is that roles tend to be used, the names of roles tends to be used interchangeably. So you get to one organization, they say that these are project coordinators. You get to another organization, they are project coordinators, but there seems to be a bit of a disconnect between what they both do. Because most times an organization will fashion a role depending on their needs, depending on the environment, depending on what kind of emphasis they want to put on it. So let's look at the roles that we're looking at tonight. We're looking at the project coordinator role, we're looking at the project support role, and we're looking at the PMO analyst. So when you're going into these opportunities, the first thing you need to have in mind is, what is the purpose of this role? Okay, so when you're reading the job opportunity, most of the time, and if they haven't put it there, ask for it. what do you want this person to achieve? Generally, a PMO analyst is there to analyze. The clue is in the name. Now, also having in one hand that sometimes organizations will use a role and they've not really used it correctly. Okay, so they'll call somebody a PMO analyst, but when you get there, you find that actually much of what they're doing is very much on the support basis, and there is actually no project, program, or portfolio office in sight. Okay, so what a PMO analyst does, they are there to analyze. Okay, what the differentiating factor between them and most roles is that they're either working in a project environment, but most of the time they're working in a program environment or a portfolio environment. And what essentially is different about them is that they're working in a space, in a structure where that particular structure has been put together to manage something quite major. All right. Now, well, when you have the other roles, the project coordinator, for instance, what you find is that they are actually supporting one particular project. Okay, they are responsible for the day-to-day management of that project, and that is primarily their focus. Okay, so with the PMO analyst, like I said, they sit within a project, program, or portfolio environment. And what they are doing is they're providing assurance, they're providing governance, and they're providing that level of objectivity and control to a certain extent on a whole host of programs, projects, and portfolios. The project the project coordinator, on the other hand, they are primarily focused on supporting that particular project. Okay, they are coordinating it. Most often than not, there is a more senior person who is looking after that project from a strategic point of view, and the project coordinator is coordinating day-to-day things like, supplies and resources and contact management and that sort of thing. Then you have the project support. Project support is another term that is used quite broadly. So if you've noticed, when you go to the civil service, for instance, their project support people are quite senior. They are people who are quite familiar with the terrain of the civil service, quite familiar with that particular industry, and that they are usually called project support officers, and they are quite experienced people. But ordinarily, a project support person should be that person who's providing an administrative or secretariat support. Now, notice I said secretariat, not secretarial. I'm not so sure that there are a lot of secretarial situations. It's been a while since I've come across that myself in that environment, but secretariat being that everything administrative for that particular project, for that particular program, for that particular work stream, that is what that project support person is providing. So it very much depends on the scope of the project, what it is they're trying to achieve, how important that project is. If it's quite critical, there'll be quite senior and involved people as part of that process. So for you coming into technology and wanting to use one of these opportunities as a stepping stone, first of all, get a sense of, do I want to work within a project environment, a program environment, a portfolio environment? Do I have what it takes? Do I understand what is needed to work in that environment? So perhaps you would go for maybe a PMO analyst role. Now, a PMO analyst role is kind of like one step above. You can have like PMO coordinators or PMO support people, they will, or PMO administrators. Sometimes you can have that as well, all within that PMO structure. And the distinguishing factor is that they are supporting a number of initiatives that are going on. Now, so if that's your kind of thing, if you're kind of, very sharp on your multi-skilling and you're able to prioritize and your ability to kind of like have a lot of things going on at one go, or be a contact person as a hub person, if that's your thing, then, then the PMO environment will work for you quite well. However, if you're kind of like somebody right now that, you are a go-to person on a number of key initiatives within an organization, perhaps you want to consider project coordination. And if you're the kind of person that really and truly administration, budgeting, and all of that operational stuff is something that you are just stepping into yourself, perhaps you want to take it easy and you want to do project support. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so what do you need in terms of knowledge? I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these, okay? A lot of these things you'll probably be quite familiar with already anyway. But generally, if you want to step into the project environment, applications and tools, if you want to step into the technology environment, it kind of like is a given. If you're somebody that you're not at all perturbed with applications, you know, you're willing to step in there and use something. So if you're very adept at using Word, Excel, PowerPoint, CRM type solutions for managing people, data, and all of that sort of thing, that comes with the territory these days, especially if you're going to work in technology. Operations is another given. You know, you've got to be kind of like operation savvy. You've got to understand, you know, how admin works, how finance works, how HR, procurement, governance, how are these different departments interacting with one another? What is kind of like an idea of how these places work and an acceptance of how they work, because that will play a very key role in your role as the project person. Corporate language, effective communication and culture. I'm pretty sure that all of you know, especially if you're in roles at the moment, that, you know, there is a way to disagree. There is a way to manage conflict. There is a way to influence a decision. You know, all of these things will be fantastic attributes, and being able to articulate them will be very useful for you in that environment. So just really getting a sense of as to, you know, what are these things? You know, when we talk about corporate language, you know, the corporate language for the sort of like pharmaceutical industry now might be slightly different to the corporate language of the engineering environment. How does that help you? Now, if you are in the engineering environment at the moment, perhaps what you want to do as a stepping stone is to step into another kind of like an engineering type, project type, support role, project coordinator role, that sort of thing. And that would be a nice kind of logical step for you. And all of these things that are listed here, you got your project support people, they're primarily administrative, okay? So in as much as the project support person, the project coordinator, and the PMO analyst will all be involved with meetings, generally what you find is a project administrator or a junior, an entry level type of project support type of role. Their concern is mainly about arranging these meetings, perhaps being at these meetings and taking notes and that sort of thing. That would be primarily their focus. A project coordinator, on the other hand, they may go as far as, you know, ensuring that they may be tasked with going to find out who are the different attendees that need to be at their meeting. You know, they know how their project is positioned in that organization. They will go as far as being responsible from a governance point of view, you know, really making sure that those people are coming and managing their diaries, speaking to the various PAs and support people that work with these people. It's very possible that their project is quite critical, business critical, and they'll be liaising at that kind of level, okay? Then you have the analyst, the PMO analyst, same lines as the project coordinator, except that they may be doing that for a number of different initiatives. You know, so where the project coordinator is primarily focused on their project, the PMO analyst is probably focused on a number of initiatives that they're looking over from that PMO point of view. So I just picked out meeting management as just one there, but primarily what you got to have at the back of your mind, that if you are going into an entry level, if you kind of like don't want to take on too much, you want to go at the entry level and just really just manage the administrative side of all of those things listed. Nice. If you've kind of like been in an operational environment for quite a while and you're very comfortable with all of these administrative processes, then, you know, maybe consider project coordination. And again, if you want to step up your game and you're quite comfortable managing a number of initiatives on the go, then PMO analyst is perhaps where you want to go. And hopefully by the time you get this video, you'll be able to look more at the various requirements and, you know, really get a sense of what is needed in that respect. Let's go to the next slide. So there's always that banter between what is a skill, or what is a knowledge, and and you'll find that people use these interchangeably. In the project environment, communication is so key. Okay, written, face to face, Zoom, that's kind of like become a thing these days. People pick up a lot of things by body language, by eye contact, a whole lot of things. In the project environment, because projects are essentially investments that organizations have put a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of effort in, they're so pivotal to that organization. So when you work even if you're working as project support, you are pivotal to that particular environment. So all of these skills, that ability to communicate, know when to send an email and know when to cross over and go and have a conversation. That's what we mean by communication. How do you engage people? How do you bring people onto your side? Because as a project person, you are bringing about change. You are coming into that organization. You are part of the team that's about to upset quite a number of things. How are you engaging with people? How are you kind of like alleviating fears? How are you calming people down? So all of these skills, that ability to collaborate, you guys are the ones that you're bringing about this new system. How do you get into that environment and say, oh, hi, my name is so-and-so. When can we find time to just let, if I could get access to your diaries and that sort of thing. Collaborating, influencing. A lot of what we do in the project environment has got to do with our interpersonal skills. The ability to bring about change, but in a very kind of like effective way, and in a way that is non-confrontational, in a way that brings value to that organization. So a lot of these skills are about you looking at your interpersonal skills, maybe getting feedback from other people that, how do you think my collaboration is? How do you think my monitoring is, my reporting is, But when you come into Sterling Careers, you will pick up each and every one of these things and you use them as part of your skill set, and you'll be able to really see them come to life. Let's go to the next slide. Like I said before, interpersonal skills. How do we behave? As you'll notice that there's nothing on the project coordinator and PMO analyst. Now, what I simply mean by that is that all of these behaviors can be used across the board. Having attention to detail is key in the project environment, and at the same time, having said that you're detail oriented, at the same time, you also want to be that big picture person. What do I mean by that? So sometimes, something is being delayed. You're having that ability to say, right, that thing is being delayed, but in the big streams, in the larger schemes of things, will that affect or impact? Have I been on mute all this while? Okay, that just kind of like went to mute for a minute there. Okay. Right. So in terms of behavior, so Anne, at what point did I drop off? Have I been on mute all this while?
No, I think it was just a few minutes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, let me just cover about behavior again. Behavior, being able to really position yourself in a place where you're adding value. That's what is most important in these three roles. And really and truly, in project support, having all of those type of behaviors as a coordinator, as a PMO analyst, they work across the board. That ability to be detail-oriented, but at the same time, the ability to really be able to see the bigger picture. Seeing the bigger picture is about really just understanding, well, this is what the project wants to achieve. At this moment in time, this particular issue Is it really going to impact that bigger picture? Perhaps not. Being able to make that sort of call and being able to make recommendations. When you're in a project environment, the fact that you're on that support side, we see the people, those of us that work on support, we see much more than those who work strategically. And so being that person where you're always giving that kind of like big picture, at the same time detail into things is so valuable. So behavior is very much a big thing when you're working in the project environment. Being a team player, being transparent, having that ability to build relationships. So you know somebody in procurement, you know somebody in facilities, you know this because you've reached out and you've been friendly. So you've made a contact. Building relationships, very key in any one of these roles. Let's go to the next slide. But before I go, do we want to do questions afterwards, or how are we doing it, Dupe?
We will take questions, but I think I've already asked that people pop their questions in the comment or in this chat box. We can pick them up. But as you've asked, we could switch it. We could change it. So does anybody have a question? If you do, kindly raise your hand, and I'll probably unmute you. If you've got any questions, raise your hand. Or pop it in the chat maybe for another 1 minute. If not, we can move on. We'll just give it.
I think most of the comments are about being muted, so that's cool.
That's fine. Okay, I think we can carry on because we're going to, okay.
Cool. All right, let's go to the next slide then. So I wanted to give you a kind of like an insight because as to what a day in the life for each one of these roles could be. So let's go to the first one. Like I said before, project support is quite broad. You could go to an organization and they call their people project support, but what they're doing is quite high-end administration, quite high-end support. They understand how things work in that organization from end to end, and they're able to support across the board, But what I'm dealing with here, let's look at the project administrator type situation, their entry level, and the day in the life, it could be, they start their day, generally everybody starts their day really just looking through their emails. If you're anything like me, I have all of my emails and all of my connections coming onto my smartphone. So I don't really miss a beat, to be honest. Some people prefer not to have that. They prefer at 5 o'clock, shut it all down. They're not, I'm the kind of person that, I'm kind of like on top of things. So my teams, my Outlook, everything is coming in. Now, as an administrator, essentially you are that person that you're dealing with all sorts of communications. You're dealing with the meetings, you're dealing with the emails, you're even face to face. When people come into that environment, it's possible that you are going to be the face for that particular project, or you're going to be the point of contact. When people within the larger organization are looking for things, it's possible that you'll be the one that they would first of all find in the directory. And so in that particular instance, what is useful is, being quite conversant about what your project's about, quite conversant about who your key stakeholders are, because sometimes even the CEO could reach out and ask a question because they found your name is associated with that project. So all things communication, you'll be the one necessarily usually dealing with that. So everybody's day tends to start out with communication. You come in, you're dealing with your emails, people come by your desk. Oh, do you have this? Do you have that? Do you know when this is? Do you know when that meeting is? Do you know who's dealing with this? That sort of thing. Okay. Now, kind of like, as you come in, that's probably a lot to that. And that would be something that you would deal with throughout the day. The other thing is problem solving. The key difference between project people and everybody else is that project people have been brought in specifically to deliver a change. The organization may have tried to deliver that change themselves, and now they're finding that no, sorry, this is not working, too much work going on in the organization, we just don't have that time. So they bring in a specialized team. That's the project team. You are regarded as someone who's specialized. Never mind about how much you're getting. Forget about all of that, right? The point is that you are a project person. You are specialized in delivering change. Now, whether or not that change is from a perspective of you're the one dealing with what a lot of people want to call basic, stuff, it doesn't matter. Because guess what? If that basic stuff does not get done, trust me, everything is coming to a grinding halt. So don't look at it from that perspective. As the project administrator, you are that person who should know at least 90% of what's going on logistically, on a day-to-day business basis, that sort of thing. And the more you involve yourself with that, the more you become quite visible in your organization, visible to your stakeholders, visible to other colleagues, that when they're moving on, they will remember you and recommend you. That is very prevalent in the project delivery community. So solving problems, that ability to, when your stakeholders are looking for something, you know where there is. If you don't know where it is, you know who can solve it. Remember I was telling you about relationship building in the organization, knowing who has that key, who has that access to that particular resource, who has access to these computers, this, that, and the other. Being able to solve problems. Conflicting schedules. So like, for instance, we want to use this particular room. Oh, it's double booked. You're that person who is seen to be dealing with that, picking up the phone, speak to reception. Oh, can we get this sorted? Dealing with problems on a day-to-day basis. Like I mentioned before, point of contact, many questions will be directed at you. You'll be expected to know almost everything about your project. If you don't know almost everything about your project, you'd be expected to know someone who does. And that's where all your artifacts will come into use. And when I say artifacts, I mean documents for that particular project, whether it's your business plan, whether it's your project initiation document. The expectation is that you have a sense of where all of these things in, even if you don't know it detail by detail. Documentation management is another big part of your role as a project administrator. Sometimes the setup comes with the organization because you've joined in the middle. Sometimes you'll be expected to set it up yourself. Just really having a structure. When you come into the Google Docs environment, you've got all the, how is your repository set out? Is it set out project by project? Is it set out phase by phase? How is that project set up? And then, really just then having a logic behind how everything is filed away. Then we talk about naming conventions. Are all of the files named in the same way? Name of author, name of document, date it was created, draft, that sort of thing. These are things that you will be very much expected to be quite conversant with. Even if you're not conversant with it, but be quite quick to pick it up. So which means that from wherever you're coming from, administration, operation stuff, dealing with using applications should be something that is very second nature to you. Over the years, I've mentored a number of project management professionals, and for those of my mentees that they're not quite comfortable with project management, we always have that very first, quite honest conversation that I'm not sure how much you're going to last here. You might last, but it seems like you're going to hate every minute of it. And what's the point of that? So if you're generally quite comfortable operationally, then you do well. Let's go to the next slide. So that's the project administrative role. That's kind of like the entry level. Project coordinator, again, it's pretty much the same as the project administrator, except where the project administrator is kind of like just that, doing the basics, they may, so say for instance, there's a meeting that needs to be set up. Perhaps in their case, all they need to do is just make sure that it's in the diaries, make sure that everybody has an agenda, and that's it. In some cases, from a project coordinator, you might be the one to have to put the agenda together. You might be that person that you are making sure that all the attendees are available and they've got their pre-reads. You might be that person that's chasing on actions. Once you've got the actions, you're actually challenging them on that action. The difference between you and the project administrator is that you are coordinating. You're kind of deputizing for the project manager in some cases, and you are expected to have a higher level of understanding of what's happening in that project. As such, when you're chasing up on those actions and you're actually asking a bit more detailed questions, much more than have you finished it, whatever. If the person says, oh, it's still in progress, because you are expected to have that level of insight into the project, they may say, yes, I can see it's in progress, but what is it that you've done? What is the status? So what is the progress that you've made? That sort of thing. There's a possibility that that may be the case. So yes, the project coordinator, yeah, you could say that. You could say that it's kind of like a supervisory role, and kind of like a supervisory role. Again, it really depends on the organization, which is why when I started this whole segment, I said, when you're going for roles, understand the purpose of the role. The clue is in the purpose of the role. So when you're speaking to that person about that opportunity, ask them, what is it? Why am I there? So if you're a project coordinator and they're saying that, you're responsible for the day-to-day management of that project, okay? And they may say that, yes, and you're working with a senior so-and-so, right? So that gives you a sense of that you are kind of like in the middle, right? You in as much as you might be coordinating. Is it possible to be a full-time project administrator? Absolutely, it is. Some projects are vast. Can you imagine if there was a project that was building a new highway? Very much different from if there was a project of running a community project, for instance. There are differences in their nuances in different projects. And that's why I've said, one of the very first things you want to do is you want to understand what's the purpose of that role. Even though they've called it that name, what is the purpose? What is the context? Am I working on just one project? Am I working on a series of projects? Am I working in a portfolio environment? If you're working in a portfolio environment, you may have about 60 projects on the go, 20 programs, 40 work streams, So you want to understand, what is the purpose of my role? Is my role to support one project? Is my role to support a series of projects? Is my role to support a PMO structure? Okay, so project coordinator, you can see that ability to multitask, oversee specific stages of a project. Sometimes, maybe a project administrator may not be expected to have that level of depth, but with a project coordinator, there is a possibility that they believe that you should, if you're coordinating a project, you should understand when a project is in its initiation stage, when it's in its planning stage, when it's in its implementation stage, and the different activities that are happening in these stages. Okay, so again, if you come into Sterling Careers and they help you navigate this terrain, you will be able to use these things on a day-to-day basis. Now, with the PMO Analyst, what I've said there is that there's a high possibility that you're working within a project management office. PMO stands for Project Management Office, or the P can actually be project, program, or portfolio. If you're an analyst, more often than not, you're required to do much more than provide an administrative function. You're required to give insight, to understand why something is happening and possibly have a series of recommendations. So for a PMO analyst, they have a day that could be typically made up of all of these things, because they're stationed in the project management office, they could be part of the decision-making processes that are going around. It might be a case of that particular project needs a change analyst, that project needs a data analyst, that project needs a planner. And because they are working in the hub, they may be part of that process of identifying what are the decisions that we need to make. If we need 2 more planners, That means we need to be asking somebody for money. That means a budget needs to be ascertained. That means a meeting needs to be had. That level of kind of decision making, project management governance, they are part of that process whereby not only are the risks and issues being logged, they are also part of that process where they're looking at it and saying, well, if this particular issue is high, what kind of what task does it apply to? They asked more detailed questions. They analyze, they get insight, and then they report upwards. That is the function of their role. In a properly functioning environment, that is what they're supposed to do. So they are not only just making sure that risks and issues are being logged, they're also questioning them. They're sort of like saying, okay, if this is a risk, but you've written it in such a way that's actually happening, then it's no longer a risk, it's an issue. So the depth of their knowledge is a bit higher in terms of how things are done within a project environment than perhaps the project support person at the very least. They are required to do a bit more in terms of project management, governance, and project management processes on the whole. Financial management as well, again, an administrator may be required just to collect the information, make sure that it is in the spreadsheet, but they may be invited to go to finance, to go and explain why the variances are out, to come explain why there is a case for more money needed. Okay, we could go through all of these, but the idea is that if for instance, this is the starting point for any process, an administrator will probably cover 20%, whereas a PMO analyst may be required to do that much more. So that's the thing to have at the back of your mind when it comes to all of these processes. Project administrators may be able to do the minimum, and the PMO analyst may be expected to do the maximum. Again, it's about looking at the purpose of that role, looking at the duties, the responsibilities, the scope of the responsibility, and then understanding and having that conversation with whoever is sharing that opportunity that, what is expected of me. I believe that's the last slide.
Yes, thank you. I think I'd like us to take some questions now before we move to the next segment. Thank you, Taya. So if you've got any questions, please pop it in the chat or feel free to unmute yourself. Any questions for Taya? Just as we're waiting to get those questions, I've got a question for you, which I'd like you to respond to, if that's okay.
No
now
problem.
you've gone through, Taya's gone through, all that she has talked about, what is expected of a PMO analyst, a project coordinator, a project admin person, and all the other support roles. And I believe that some of you were already painting a picture at the back of your mind to say, oh, I already do this, or I do some of this already. And so I want to ask you, from all that you've just listened to at the moment, can you tell me which one would you say is of interest to you, one, or which one would you say sounds like something that you currently do or have done before? I would like you to please respond. Just pop it in the chat, because I think that would be very good. This would be a good point for us to talk about it. What is your area of interest? Which one do you think, this sounds like something that I will be good at, or that I'm interested in? Okay, let's read one. So someone says, I'm currently studying international project management, and before now it has been looking overwhelming for me. I already do administrative roles, and is it okay to stick to project administrator? So it is up to you, like Taya has. Well, I'll let Taya, maybe before you go, just respond to the responses in the chat. Someone's got a question there.
Okay, I'm just gonna open that up. So, okay. Maureen asks, is it possible to be a full-time project administrator in a particular company? Yes, that's definitely possible. It depends on the scope of the project and how important that project is and how much time is required. Does it mean a PMO will be a qualified financial analyst before going to the PMO? No, not at all. That word analyst is about, if I can give you this analogy, if you have a problem, okay, the administrator is probably only required to log that somewhere and let somebody else know that it's there. An analyst, you read the problem, you think, okay, what do we need to do here? We need to let procurement know, we need to let facilities know, and then once they know, we need to pull together a meeting, let testing know, this and that. What you've done is you've taken that problem and you've analyzed it. You thought, what am I going to do about it? That is what we mean by being an analyst in that particular situation. Okay, so it's not more along the finance side, it's more about being able to take a situation, analyze it, and find solutions to it. That's how I would put it. I'm currently studying international project management, and before now it has been looking overwhelming. I already do administrative roles, and is it okay to stick to a project administrator? Myself and Dupe were having this conversation. We have a bit of a banter about this. What I'm going to say is that take everything on a kind of like case-by-case situation. You get into this role now, and they call it PMO Analyst. To the trained eye or to somebody like myself who's worked in the PMO space for a long time, I'm looking at it and thinking, no, that's not really a PMO Analyst role. It's a support role, and there's nothing wrong with that, okay? So what I'd like you to do is don't kind of like be scared by any opportunity that comes along. Look at it, ask for the purpose of it. What is it that you guys want this person to be doing? They usually have a problem that needs to be solved, and they're trying to get that resource to solve that problem, okay? And when you're studying project management, definitely on the international side, it's a bit more daunting on paper than it is in reality, especially if you're very comfortable with administration and operations, okay? So Rajesh is interested in project coordination. Jakub has an engineering background. I'm literally new into project management. However, project support or admin will be a good starting point for him. Absolutely. Engineering is, what I want you to understand, Jakub, is engineering in itself, being kind of like versed in that is, that's a huge thing in itself. So now the thing about it is that if I and you, right, say for instance, you've been, supporting projects in the engineering field, plus your engineering knowledge, right? Let's say you and I went for a role, right? It's very likely that they'll be leaning towards you because you already understand the jargon. You already understand how things work in the engineering environment, hopefully, especially with your other administrative skills alongside that. So knowing how an environment works, right, is very key to being able to secure a role. So even though I've been a PMO person for a while, they'll probably want to speak to you because you've also got that engineering background. So yes, project support or admin is a very good place to start, but do not discard the other opportunities. There is no harm in having a conversation, okay? So Rajesh is also in engineering. Yes, absolutely. Project coordination. I would say for all of you guys in engineering, look at project coordinator roles in the engineering sector. What's the duration to be trained as an entry-level project support person? Very much depends on the individual. And I think Dupe will be able to pick that up as well with you guys. What happens to a situation where the organization employs you as one to do the 3 roles? Oh, well, they have got it. They've got a bargain in you, then you might need to rethink that, But if it's a situation whereby you're just trying to use it to step onto the ladder, don't be too perturbed about it. Think about what you want to achieve, get what you want to achieve, set your goal, like I'm going to be here for 6 months, I'm going to be here for 12 months, and see how it goes, okay?
And that's not strange. It does happen sometimes in some smaller organizations, yeah. So
It does.
it's not straight, yeah.
Absolutely. I'm currently a nurse and feel the project coordinator role would best suit for you. Absolutely. Being a nurse, I mean, okay, I'm thinking more of a midwife or something. Maybe if you're a senior nurse and you're responsible not only for the medical side of things, but also for coordinating things on a day-to-day basis, making sure that medicines are where they're supposed to be, overseeing maybe a group of junior nurses, that sort of thing. Already you are coordinating. So definitely roles within the NHS, definitely look out for those because you have an upper hand because you're already a nurse.
Yep.
I'm going to skip that one from Titi Layo. Dupe will cover that. You have a legal background, fantastic. If you have a legal background, it means start looking for roles and opportunities, support, administration, PMO analyst in the legal background. That ability to understand how legal practices work, and that thing is a plus for you. I'm an accountant with cost accounting background, wanting to move into project space. Fantastic. What will happen is that if you look out for roles that are specifically geared towards kind of like finance, project accounting, that sort of thing, that would also be a plus for you. So Kane is system support, and she's interested in a PMO role. The fact that you're in system support sounds really good. You'll probably already have the rigor that comes along with project administration. So yes, this is very much suited for you as well. What will be the starting point for me? Currently contracting within IT projects, but more as an intermediary between IT and finance department. Come into Sterling Careers, let them have the specifics, and they'll be able to guide you. That's a very good place to be. IT projects right now, you could be doing so well in the next 6 months. So Fehi works in civil litigation. Again, if you have an environment that you've been in, say 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you've already got a leg up. Because what a project person is a subject matter expert in that area. So if you understand that area, all you need to do is to be taught the other project methodologies and the other project processes, and you're there. Okay.
Thank you for that. Okay, before we go into this, I'd like to thank you very much, Tayo. So keep your questions coming in. Towards the end, we will cover them. And then the other questions which Tayo did not cover, so the ones that are specific to Sterling Careers and how we can help you, we will be covering those towards the end. Now, before I go in, so thank you very much, Tayo, for that, and I hope you found that very useful. I think for me, the point here is you just need to look at what you have to start. So I believe that you don't have to start from ground zero, like I like to say. So look at what you're currently doing that you can leverage. We'll talk about that later. So and all the things that all of you have just popped in the comment section, they're doable. It's just knowing how to go about it, where to start, and getting someone to support you, which is what we will be looking at towards the end. But just so we are about an hour into well, fingers crossed we'll be able to cover all that we have. But quickly, I'd like to invite Amanda to tell you about her experience, just in case there's a few of you here who obviously are interested in getting into this, becoming project management professionals, but you're, for instance, the person who is a nurse, somebody who probably was in teaching, and you're thinking, is this really possible? So I'll let Amanda share her story with you very briefly. She was into teaching, supply teaching for a good number of years, but then she attended one of these sessions like this, and she was able to identify some of the skills which she already had, which she could transfer into project management, and that's how her journey started. So Amanda, do you want to just share briefly your experience with everybody? Thank you again, Tayo.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you can all hear me.
Is your camera on? You can turn it on if you want.
Yes, I think it's on. And
okay.
Yeah. Can you all hear me?
Yes, I can
Okay.
hear you.
Okay,
Yes.
fabulous, lovely. So good evening again, everybody. So my name is Amanda Malife, and I've known Veronica for a few years now. And we linked up, and she approached me. Actually, I hadn't ever considered a career in project management. I was teaching at the time, as she's already said, and the meeting was very timely because I was sort of thinking about, is this all there is to my life? Am I just going to teach? And I was sort of becoming a little bit disillusioned with it. And having attended a roadshow, so it was roadshows at the time. This was pre-COVID. Attended a day, and as they went through the presentations, there was one about the PM space. There was one about business analysis and PMO, and I just felt with the skills that I already had in teaching that was quite a good fit for me. And at the time I was sort of thinking, PM or PMO, but because I was shifting into a completely new industry, I thought that PMO would be a good starting point for me. So I signed up with Sterling Careers, and as they say, the rest is history. Quickly got into being involved in projects, was able to use the tools that were open to us as trainees. So we used Confluence and Jira, we used Basecamp and lots of other tools. Monday.com, I think, was one of the ones that we used, and PM.com for all of our project planning and so on. And we worked on live projects, which was really good. And I think being involved with such a small team, I think there were about 4 or 5 of us at the time working on this project. And sometimes, you were forced to step in and do the BA role if somebody wasn't available. And that was really great because I came out with a very well-rounded knowledge of both PM and BA, and it allowed me to sort of cement my decisions about where I was going to go. And so so I'm in the PMO space at the moment.
Great stuff, Amanda. Thank you. And Amanda she was one person that was, ready to roll her sleeves up and get the job done. And she first of all got into, I think her first role was with the university, and now she's with one of the big consultancies as a program manager. So she's made some huge advancement there, which we are super proud of. But the reason I've asked her to share is just to let you know that it is possible, but what it requires is one, that readiness and just you being prepared to roll up your sleeves and put in the work, and also the fact that you can leverage your transferable skills as well. So thank you so very much. Amanda is actually one of our in-house mentors. So she's come back, to help, to mentor our current trainees. And that's essentially something that we also pride ourselves in. So we are super proud of how well Amanda has done. And that can actually be you tomorrow, who knows? Okay, so moving swiftly on, because thank you, Amanda, so much for doing this. Thank you very much. So before I know on the screen it says leveraging your transferable skills. I will come to that later, but I want us to do an activity because we like being hands-on. So I'm just going to quickly move past this slide, and I'll invite somebody else again, to show you. We do like a behind the scenes activity. Okay, so now I want to ask you. Now Tayo has gone through. I know it was quite, as summarized as possible because this is a taster session and is meant to only be for 90 minutes, and of course we can't cover all the detail that is required. But I believe we scratched the surface a little bit, okay? So you kind of have a sense of what a PMO analyst requires in terms of skills, behavior, knowledge, and all the areas that Ty has covered. You also have a little idea of what a project support person would do, and a project coordinator. And I've asked you your area of interest, and a lot of you have responded. So now I want us to get hands-on, okay? Now, let me just read. So this is a mandate. So you have probably just been appointed onto this new project. And this is the mandate. The mandate is that we want to deliver a program or a / project management office so that we can effectively, sort of manage the governance and projects as a whole, products and service delivery. So just out of, out of interest, what would your approach be, whether as a project coordinator, a project support person, or even a PMO analyst, and you had this mandate, you just started the job and you're like, okay, what am I supposed to be doing? And they say, here is your brief, here is your mandate. What can you just pop in the chat box, or please feel free to unmute yourself. I want to hear people's comments now. In terms of an approach, what do you think will be the first thing that you should think about? Just give me your thoughts. And hi Veronica, is it okay to talk with you outside? Yeah, that's fine. Okay, sorry about that. So can you unmute yourself and just tell me, from everything that's been said, are you going to talk about, are you going to consider the people that you need to talk to? Are you going to have to sit down and say, okay, who are the key stakeholders? Do I need to talk to finance? Do I need to talk to procurement and all those other things that Tayo has hinted? What would your approach be if you got on the job that day one and they've said, we want to set up a program management office so that we can, sort of manage our projects, documentations, and all the things that Tayo has mentioned? What do you think, what would your approach be, or what would be the first thing that will come to your mind? Just give a random guess. It doesn't have to be perfect, because somebody's going to come on now and we will talk to you about how you can, approach something like this. If you were given a mandate to say, come and help us set up our PMO, that is our program or project management office. How to go about it? What are the steps that you need to take? We will show you, we'll talk you through that, but I would like somebody to just give me a random guess, or unmute yourself and just talk what you think.
Hello.
Hello, thank you.
I think the first will be for you to define the objective of the project.
Okay.
And then get in touch with the managers or the top managers.
Okay.
Then the next step would be to define the tools that will be used.
Cool.
And the process to follow.
Okay, cool. I like that. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. I didn't catch your name, but that's fine. Thank you for that. Please keep it coming. So somebody else, OA has said, find out who the key stakeholders are. That's good. Okay. Someone said project plan, resources required, budget, scope. I love that, because it's a project mandate. So you need to now find out, okay, what is the budget? What resources do we need? What is the scope? That's very important. I like that you mentioned that. And are there similar project artifacts? Brilliant, to get lessons learned. So that is amazing. I think OA, you already, of course, you are well on your way. So Kay says, find out who the key stakeholders. That's fine. Rajesh says, we'll approach to project support person. Okay. Adobe, in addition to this, find out the risk and how to manage them when it arises. Okay, that's brilliant. Because of time, thank you for all of that. They are obviously all very, very vital things to consider. So because of time, I'm going to just go straight into an example. So we had this as a project, and so we had new trainees who obviously just joined us, and they were mandated to help set up the program/project management office for Sterling Careers. Now, the person who's going to come on manage this project, even though she had been in care for close to 13 years, but she made a successful transition into becoming a project management professional. But she joined our program and she was part of this project, and it successfully delivered this. So we're going to show you the approach that was taken. We will show you a few, just sneak peek into maybe the planning that was done, the set of activities, so that it gives you an idea of the considerations that you would make. So I put on here that the objective, somebody talked about getting an understanding of the objective, what it is we're trying to do, and talk about what are those constraints, such as your cost, your time, your resource, and things like that, which will need to be factored in as you plan to deliver this project successfully. So I'm going to hand over to Esther to just tell you what was the approach that was taken. She can share her screen if she wants to, but I think we've got a few slides there to just let you in on, some of the steps or some of the activities that this team obviously went through to successfully deliver this project. So I'll hand over to you, Esther.
Hi, Veronica. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi. Welcome to Sterling Careers. When the mandate of this project was actually given to us, so we did a lot of communication with someone mentioned with our stakeholders. We needed to find out what was in SCL, the PMO office, what the tools were there, what frameworks were there, templates, and things like that. So discussing, on constantly with our product owner to find out how we can best implement this project. So as a team, it was quite a lot, quite intense, because we made few recommendations to the business, having looked at what was in Sterling and what the mandate was and what the business wanted to actually, improve on, within the PMO. So we came up with different frameworks. These were recommended, much more than these were recommended, but this was what the business actually approved. So as soon as the business approved the governance framework, we looked at project planning, the reporting, change control. Some of these frameworks were in place, but were not robust enough, based on what the business wanted. Sterling Careers actually wanted to put in place. So our resource planning, risk and issues, and also lessons learned. So putting down this framework, as soon as we got approval for these frameworks, we went to work, looking at what SCL wanted, because the business said they wanted for program project, because initially we looked at it on the portfolio level, but that we were advised to say that put that on hold. It doesn't mean that they were not interested, but we put that on hold when we focused on the program and the project management office. So we looked at looking at all these frameworks, looking at the project planning tools that were in place and how we can best enhance that. So at that time, for the project planning, I think we're using just the Excel sheets. So we went ahead to automate various Excel sheets, which was quite a bit of a learning curve for us, because a few people on the team didn't have an idea of how to automate or conditional formatting. That was something that we also learned, in the project, on the project. So that was something we took away. Learned how to data validate, a lot of those cells, learned how to conditional formatting, the RAG status. So we put all that in place. That's for the planning. And then we went on to reporting, the change control processes in place. So this is just an overview of the planning stages, that we kind of introduced. We recommended to the business, and they bought it, and they kind of liked it. So these are processes that we put in place for just planning, because as a project support or project analyst or whatever you find yourself, the planning is really, you really have to be on top of it, because if you don't plan your project properly, you can run out of time, you can run out of cost, so just a whole number of things, can go wrong. When we talk about triple constraint, cost, benefit, and time, so a lot of things can go wrong. So we put that in place as a team, and then we went on to, okay, this is Monday.com. So that was another tool that the business was looking into adopting, but we, as a team at that time, we didn't really have an idea of how this worked, but it was a learning curve for us also. So when you come on board SCL, there's just so many things, you can learn, so many processes, so many skills, to be honest. So we learned how to use Monday.com, learned how to automate Monday.com, just to be able to, carry out proper planning of our project. So put the WBS in on Monday.com, and we walk through that as a project team. So this is for project planning. I don't know if you've got another slide, Veronica, that talked about a change management structure. Okay.
No, wait, so sorry to cut you. So this is quite really high level, but we didn't put everything on the slides there. So Esther is just talking through what was done. But what was the first thing? Because I think the question was right. Okay, if for instance it's your first day on the job and you have that as a mandate, what was the first thing that you did as a project coordinator, as an example, just for somebody who obviously wants to know?
It's just looking at, first thing we did was looking at knowing who our stakeholders were, being to ask questions, what SCL had in place. I'm going to use that as an example. What processes they had in place. First, did they have a PMO? Okay, we know. Okay, SCL has got a program office. Okay, what's in the program office? Why do they want kind of like a revamp of the program office? What tools is in the program office? How can we enhance these tools in the program office? So these are questions we kept going back and forth to ask. In some cases, it was like, no, we can improve on that, or no, we're not going that far. So just like a requirements engineering to know what's on ground. Why do we need a program office? Why do we need to carry out this project? So those were questions we're asking, and the responses that we got opened the door for more questions for us to put across to the business. So just constant communication with the stakeholders to know why this is happening, why the program, why the PMO office, and how we can actually best support the program office. So that was the first question, why, and then just constant communication with our senior stakeholders, looking at the processes in place. Is there a PMO? Has something like this been done before? Okay, what lessons, like someone said earlier, what lessons, what challenges did they face at that time, and how we can best improve on that.
Okay, so quickly, thank you very much for that. I'm going to open up for questions now. So if you've got any questions for Esther or anything in general, please pop it in. So yes, initially was, first of all, yes, getting an understanding of what the business wanted to achieve and who the key stakeholders were. You identified that. So what can you just run us quickly through the key deliverables? So what did this project deliver in terms of, is it a case of, okay, having some agreed frameworks? I think you've mentioned templates, refinement, documentation, and all of those things. Can you just quickly talk about what that was like for the project? Okay,
like I mentioned, we had different frameworks, templates, and then we also like in Sterling Careers, we use both the Jira and we also use the G Suite. So one recommendation we put to the business for us to be able to link Jira to the Google Drive. So one of the deliverables there was also being able to create a space. Every project, we recommended that each project team, like if a mandate is given and okay, they say, okay, this is the mandate. So we create a project space in Jira, or being able to link the templates in Jira to the repository in Jira to that in Google, as opposed to sometimes you're working in Jira and you feel, oh, I need to look for something in the G Suite. So there's a link. So what we then did was being able to link the templates from Jira also to G Drive. So that was something we worked on, and then creating different templates. In some cases, we knew, like for the raids, one of the deliverables was in SCL at that time, we had just the risk register, assumptions register, issues, and dependencies. So we merged them together. So we kind of like had consolidated it all. So it's as opposed to having just the risk, assumptions, or dependency single, we merged them together. So we then had like a rate log, so which is what we have in SCL now. So we kind of improve different processes, as we went along, looking at what was in SCL and looking at how we can best enhance, the templates that we had there. So those were a few deliverables that we delivered during this project.
Okay, cool. So let me take a quick question. Thank you. I'll come back to you. So I say, so for a new entrant into this space, how can you handle these tools the first day? Good question. So let me just quickly chime in there. Esther is going to tell you her story. So she's not always been a PMO person or a project coordinator. But when you come in, you will have to learn these tools. They may seem, more daunting than they actually are. A lot of them are intuitive. It just takes you being committed and just giving the time to it, and you pick it up. Now, one thing I must say is a lot of these jobs, once you get into it, a lot of it you learn on the job. So, and some of these ones would actually afford, they would give you training on the use of the tools and things like that. So I wouldn't worry too much. Somebody says that it's harder to actually get an interview or to get into the job than it is to do the job, because doing the job, a lot of it, you learn how to use those tools. Most of the things that Esther has shared, they didn't know how to use. Jira is one of the tools that we use for project management. There is Confluence and a few tools that we have. The Monday.com is a project planning tool that we have. And so we give you an opportunity to actually use those tools, to learn to use those tools. We train you, you have access to them. You have a practice space. So those that are business analysts, for instance, they have practice spaces in Confluence, in Jira. Those that are project management, that lean towards project management side, they have access to our project planning tool. So, but you just give yourself time and you pick up being able to use these tools. And most of these tools are similar. So if you know how to use one project planning tool as an example, chances are that you will be able to use another one, even if you found yourself in a different organization. But the thing is just, giving time to it and being ready, to try things, to practice. That's why we believe in hands-on. We believe that you have to practice in order for you to develop that confidence that you require to do the job and even to have interviews. So one thing that I've also found just by working with people, a lot of people, maybe they start by going for professional certifications, which there's nothing wrong in that, because like I said earlier, I believe in that. But then a lot of times you go through this training, you have this certification, it's all paper, but a lot of times you don't know how to apply it. And so it's just there. And so instead, we show you that, okay, this is how you can actually apply it as a project coordinator, as a project PMO analyst. This is what you need to do. This is how you help a business to set up this framework, this governance framework that Esther has mentioned, the planning framework and all those processes that need fine-tuning. So we show you, we give you that opportunity. And guess what? What happens is when you have been able to put to practice and you have done this, chances of you actually demonstrating this at interviews would obviously be higher, because now you're coming from a place of experience. I have done this and I can do it again, rather than, I just wrote the exam to pass, or I have just read up, and things like that. But that's where we believe that we believe in you being hands-on, and that's kind of our model. So we show you the theoretical aspect, but then we also give you an opportunity to put to practice, and that way it's easier for you to be able to scale and clear those interviews, because you come across as somebody who is more believable than somebody who just went and did Google search or just wrote those exams and you don't even know how to actually put it to practice. So if you've got any questions, please pop it on the chat box. So we're not, like we said, we're not going to give all of this away. because of time, we can't really go through, but I was going to show us a bit of behind the scenes to show you these templates and some of these tools that you get an opportunity to actually learn to use, but we'll have to round up. Hopefully we probably have some time. And also we just want to invite you to come on board, and then you will get all that you require. So just as we're rounding up, I'm going to talk a little bit about leveraging your transferable skills. I'm conscious of time, I know, but Esther, do you want to tell us what your experience was like, where you came from and where you are today, just in very brief, in a minute or two?
Okay, I was in the care industry for, like you said, over 10 years, couple of years, and I was getting to that point where, okay, I needed a change and things like that. So having spoken to you, I joined SCL, and then I used to work nights. So, and we had the project team we had then, I think the different time zones. So I would finish a night shift and then join team meetings. So it was a bit challenging at first, but because I put my mind to it and it was something what I wanted, so I put the work in, kept working through different projects. I started, I think, as a project support on the project team, and then after a while, I think Veronica said, "Oh, you can do the project manage. You can project manage this." Another project was starting, so she put me up for it to say, "Why don't you try project managing this this new project that was coming up?" I was a bit skeptical. I said, "Can I really do this?" But took a challenge, and it was one of the best experiences of my life. So with SCL, it's a kind of a hybrid approach. We all roll our sleeves. It doesn't matter if you want to do PM or PMO or a business analyst. We all, it's all hands on deck. We work as a team. So did that, and I found out that I like the PMO sector. Parts of things, just communication, reporting, just stakeholder management and just coordinating different tasks, within the team. So I then focused, my attention on that, did the Prince 2 and a few other certifications, and I started interviewing, and I got a contract. My first role was a contract role. I'm still there now, but it's been a learning curve. Like she said, you learn on the job. There's so many things that I've been able to kind of like introduce to my team, like the dashboard reporting, which I learned to do while we're working on the PMO project. I talked about data validation, conditional formatting, just automating, just the normal Excel spreadsheet, to be honest. And, it's paved way for me to, in the organization where I am right now. So I'm looking for ways to add value constantly to the team based on what I've learned from SCL. So it's been a wonderful experience. Thank you.
Thank you. And you've had your contracts renewed, is it 2 or 3 times now? So
3 times.
3 times renewal of contract. Okay, great stuff. Thank you very much for that, Esther. Let me see what's in the chat. Somebody said, I joined late. Please, where can I get more information about what you offer? Okay, we will cover that in a minute. So someone has asked me to do a behind the scenes. I will see if that's possible if I keep you on. I want to talk a little bit about leveraging your transferable skills, especially for those of you who are just scratching your head and okay, actually before that, look at the opportunity. So as a project support officer, Tayo talked about project support roles or PMO analyst, and I just came across this. So what are the earning potential really? So there is 3 to 350 per day contract rate in the UK. There is also part-time project manager. Well, that's that contract project coordinator as well. And this I also came across. I just put that there. So if you want to start, maybe you're interested in getting into the project management field, but you want to maybe start from the support aspect, just being a support person. Tayo has already covered that before. So I find a lot of people saying, yes, I'm interested in project management, but maybe I want to start with project admin or project coordinator or a project support officer, first of all, just to get, stronger on their feet and more confident for them to be able to then transition or pivot into an actual full project manager. So we get that a lot, but even those project support roles are still very rewarding as well. But what we say is that could be a route into project management. So some of the ladies who just finished were interested in project management, but at the moment they're interviewing for project support roles, so project coordinator and project PMO analyst roles, and we're looking forward to just sharing their success story. So essentially the point is, you're interested in project management, you can explore starting at these levels, whether it's project support, project coordinator, PMO analyst, and then maybe another year or two, you can then move into full project management if that's what you want. Because funny enough, some people start out with that intent or intention, but then they find that they actually enjoy the support aspect, like Tayo has mentioned. They find out that, oh, you know what, I wanted to use this as a route into project management, but I kind of like being a project support person or a project coordinator or a PMO analyst, and they just carry on for years, on that, and they just never go into project management. So, the choice is yours pretty much. You could start and, decide that you carry on like that, or eventually move into project management. Okay, so this is another success story. She's not here, but somebody who joined us, and that's Esther. I just want to quickly run through what we offer. Then we'll go back to how can you leverage what you have? How can you start from where you currently are? And just to let you know that it is not daunting. You must have some skills already that you can leverage to make that transition quicker and more seamless. So quick, before I go into that, let me tell you what we offer. So if you come on the reason we said that is just to let you know that we exist, Sterling Careers. So if for those of you who didn't know about us before, like I said earlier, we are established in the UK, but we have a global reach. So we have, I think there are a few people who used to connect from India and even Africa. Right now we have one or two from Nigeria. And so we have a global reach, but we are UK based. Okay, so if you come on with us, you have access to our online tutorials. So we have a learning management platform. All our training, all our tutorials would be there, so you can't miss out. So because we have a few people who might work shifts, we say to you, don't quit your job until you have made that transition into this area you want to get into. And so people still do their 9-to-5 jobs, and so sometimes people might have night shifts, and so they want to be able to listen to those training tutorials, or even where the teams are collaborating. We record some of those sessions, and so the learning management system is there 24/7. You have access to that, and we have several tutorial and courses that we have produced over time, so you got access to that. Then our live sessions as well. We have these sessions regularly. On the average, I think we have about 2-3 contact sessions online. All of it is virtual, so the teams, they meet to have their project activities and engagements. We have a general meeting where teams are presenting what they've been working on. So you have access to live projects, and like I said, our projects are live, are real projects. They're not made up projects. They're not dummy projects. They are projects that either we need as a business, or sometimes we have external clients that we have that have things that they would like us to do for them. And so you will be working on CRM implementation, website development, PMO setup, and several projects. So you have access to that as well. And then we also, once you've gone through, you have 4 months, of course. For this, what we are offering is 4 months a membership to the 4 months program. So you'd have access to all of this for across 4 months. Then we will help you. Once you've worked on your project, we then help you to curate that CV based on all that you have done, so that CV is, of course, professional. It is standard. We have different tools that we use, CV builders, as it were. So they are on point, ATS friendly, and all the softwares that most of these hiring managers and recruiters use, so that we know that your CV is up to standard, and you won't have any issues getting bypassing these what you call these ATS that you find. Then you have mentors to our so you have access to our in-house mentors. Some of them are people like Esther, Amanda, who have been through the program and they've come back to support and to help. And we also have other specialists, like I showed you in the first slide, on one or two of the slides. We've got, I think in total, over 20, 25, 30 years experience across these mentors, and you have access to them as well. And then, of course, we will guide you. We believe that professional certifications help. So we will show you, will point you in the right direction as to which of these certifications you should be looking at. And we have also materials to help you prep as well. We don't administer those exams, at least not yet. Maybe in the future we might, but we will guide you as to what the ones that you should be considering, of course. And then we have weekly Q&A. We have a Telegram group. Everyone's on there. If you're going through any of these materials, you're working on a project, you have an issue, you come on there and you post your questions. And that's pretty much, and then we are quite hands-on. You have a team of very, very supportive people. So nobody struggles. We like our project teams are small so that nobody is hiding behind or lagging behind. So we know when somebody has not turned up for a meeting, we check in on them. And so you get a lot of support within the program. And then what we really aim for is that once you have finished with us, you have built or developed that confidence to clear those interviews. And also when you get the job, you do well on the job because it's a good name for us then as well. And also sometimes we still have people reaching out while they're on the job and they might message me. So we give a little bit of on-the-job support, a little bit of hand-holding when you just started out on a new contract. Yes, you can message me or any of the mentors, and we will normally help as best as we can. Then also finally, we give you a career reference as well. So that is something people say, oh, do you have a certification or whatever? We don't, not yet, but we'll give you that reference because Esther, Amanda, everyone who's come through SCL and gotten a job have had their references applications sent to me. And so we give you that. We give you reference for the period that you've been with us, of course. And that's kind of what we offer. So I see some messages. Let me quickly look at them. Okay, which IT skills are required for a PMO? So a PMO, like Tayo mentioned, it depends on either the program or the projects that you find yourself working on. So I wouldn't say IT skills is what you should focus on, but I think it's more, okay, what are the general planning tools, as it were, or documentation tools, that you have out there. So for instance, you might need, we'll advise that you learn how to use maybe a project management tool or application or a project planning tool, but then it depends really. But as a PMO, I think a PMO is more, sometimes they be more strategic, and so might be covering different projects, which some might just be change driven, some might be a digital transformation, some might be IT driven. So it varies. It just depends. Like Tayo said, you need to understand the purpose of that role. So when you start applying, you need to find out, okay, what am I interested in? Do I want to lean towards maybe IT type projects, or do I want to look at digital transformation, or just being, at the operational level? So it just depends on what you are looking for. So once you've gotten clarity about that, then you can start developing, trying to see, okay, what are the skills that do I need? But I think on a summary, or in summary, you probably might just be looking at people management, stakeholder management, communication skills, and managing or planning tools, like I already said, and those skills and competencies I would say those are the things you need to look at. But understand the purpose. Which area do you think you're interested in? Do you think you want to go for maybe IT? you want to go towards the tech side as a PMO, because not all PMOs work in tech, if that makes sense, or look after tech or IT projects. They may be looking at other projects, so you just need to be clear as to which one it is you think you will be interested in, and then have your plan to work towards that. Do you do Scrum Master? Scrum Master, we start that in January. It's a good thing you asked. We start Scrum, Agile Scrum, I think end of January, but just watch out for details. At the moment, we do not, but it's our new offering, which we'll be introducing in the new year. So if you have any questions, please pop it there. I want to quickly cover leveraging your transferable skills, because for me, I think that's very important, so that you know that, because I know sometimes when I'm talking to people, they say, oh, I've seen some job descriptions, I've seen some job adverts that I'm interested in, but sometimes they say, oh, must have 3 to 4, 5 years work experience, and that puts people off. And so I just say, okay, you shouldn't be put off, because trust me, you would have some skills from your current role or your current career, or what you've done before, but it's just being able to, one, identify what is needed for this new area that you want to make a transition into. So let's use PMO as an example. I will say go on to LinkedIn Career Explorer. That is it. I'm sorry, I have to log out. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine, no worries. That's fine. So what was I saying? So you could actually go and do some what we call skills gap analysis to say, as a PMO, what do I need? Go on the job boards and find some job descriptions or some job ads that talk about PMO roles, so that you understand what the job description says, what is needed. Then you write that down and then look at yourself and say, okay, what have I done? I've been in admin, I've been in customer service, I've been an operations person, and any of these things are areas that you've worked in before. And then you now want to identify those skills that you've obviously developed over time that may be transferable. I'm going to just rush this quickly. So the key or core transferable skills that I've written here, top 10 qualities or skills employers are looking for these days that can be transferable. One, ability to work in a team structure. So projects are about teamwork. You are going to be working in a project environment, and of course, you won't be working in silo. You will not be a PMO managing yourself. So you definitely be looking after a project. You'll probably be supporting a project manager or a few project managers. You'll be looking after the PMO, that's the program or the project management office. And so you will be collaborating or engaging with people. So your ability to work in a team structure is very vital. So if currently that is something that you're doing, then that's a tick already. And so ability to communicate with internal and external stakeholders, I think Ty has already covered that. So internal people within the team that you work in, or if, for instance, what that project that you're looking after, maybe there'll probably be external vendors. So are you somebody who's already comfortable with customer-facing engagements or client-facing engagements, as it were? So that is something that will be a plus and a tick in the box. So a people person. If you are somebody who wants to be maybe a PMO, a project coordinator, because you are engaging people constantly, you're engaging stakeholders, you have to be a people person. And ability to make decisions and problem solve. Ty has already covered that. Ability to obtain and process information, very key. You're looking after projects. There's a lot of documentation. There's a lot of frameworks, like Esther has said. So there's a lot of that. How to be able to manipulate data, how to be able to coordinate and document and manage information is another plus. So if it's something that you're currently doing on your role, that's another tick in the box, okay? Then ability to plan, to organize and prioritize work and tasks, very important. Getting into the project management space, you have to learn to be organized. So for instance, if you're a PMO who's looking after several projects or a portfolio, that is a lot. So you need to learn how to prioritize, how to organize things so that you are not falling short in any way, because it's a lot. And that will be something that will be required of you to be able to coordinate things concurrently. So if you are doing that at the moment and you feel comfortable doing that, that's another tick in the box. Analyzing data, Then, of course, there is a technical aspect. Like I said to Anne, it just depends on which area that you're interested in that you want to go, get into. Do you need some additional technical knowledge in that domain, in that area that you are considering? And all of these can be picked up over time. You just need to have a plan, and then you just start working towards that. Then finally, ability to create and present reports. That's something we teach in SCL. All the teams, we give them an opportunity to do presentations. So like PowerPoint presentations, they know how to put that together and to present, because it's important that when you are in this field, sometimes you might need to give status updates. You might need to, present findings of something you're working on. So you need to learn to be articulate. You need to learn to be able to put this presentation together and then present it to your stakeholders. So if these are things that you're currently doing, I will say these skills can be transferable even to becoming a project management professional. Now, when we send the recording, I think we'll send some of these links here. So you can, this is just a worksheet. Because of time, we can't go through that. You can click on it and do that exercise by yourself so that you can understand what you have that you can transfer. Then you work out the gap, the areas that you still need to develop, and then put a time frame to it to say, okay, within the next, say, 6 to 8 months, I want to be able to, pick up or develop the relevant skills to get into PMO, project support, project coordinator, or, project management, whatever it is. But then you put that plan together. But first of all, do this exercise as well. So yes, we have gone over, but because somebody asked, I wonder, I'm not sure. Esther, are you able to share your screen at all? Somebody wanted to see maybe monday.com just to, so let me see the person. Guys, do you have time? Do you have 2 minutes for us to just show you one of the tools that we use? We do that quickly, and then we pop the link for you to sign up. So we've said all of this to say we would like to, okay, someone says, if I get 5 yeses, we will do it. But if not, we will just wrap it up, because I see someone's just left because I guess they said it's gone on for too long. So far, I only have 1 yes. Esther, are you able to share? Is it possible?
Yes, monday.com.
Yes, let's do monday.com. Okay, so we've got 4 yeses. So so you can take the screen. Once Esther shares just the behind the scenes. So what she's going to show you is one of the project planning tools that you use, whether you want to get into, you want to become a project manager. A project manager is the one that sort of handles planning, but sometimes you might find yourself in an organization where you are doubling. You are also a planner and maybe a PMO analyst or even a project coordinator. Sometimes, I think Esther, sometimes they pull you into planning, even though you're a project coordinator. So sometimes you just find yourself in these settings and you want to be able to rise up to the challenge. And so we show you how to use these tools. So monday.com is a project planning tool that we use in SCL. So Esther is going to show you that PMO project that we mentioned, just a few of those activities, and just briefly say 5 to 6 minutes. And then we will pop a link in the chat and just invite you to come on board to SCL. The next cohort will start in January, but you need to sign up now if it's something you want to come on. So I'm just going to give the screen to Esther. Thank you, guys.
Right. Okay. Can you see my screen? Is it visible now?
No.
Okay, just bear with me.
Okay.
No, that's not my screen, is it? No.
It says we're waiting to view it. So
I think you still have the control.
oh, okay.
Yes. It does say to me I can't control selling career screen, so I'm not sure why.
Okay, let me stop sharing. Yeah, so you can take it. Okay, go on.
Okay, can we see my screen now?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, okay, this is monday.com. the project we worked on, like we said earlier on, so this is the SCL PMO project. So we got different phases of the PDLC that we use in SCL. So the first one was the brief and proposal. So we went through the different work breakdown structure under brief and proposal. We had a kickoff meeting, we allocate and publish resources. So in this particular scenario, we created a business case as directed by the product owner. So that was reviewed and we got a sign off on that. So we finished that particular stage. So we went on to the planning. So there are different activities and different tasks, in within as we walk through the project. So the first phase stage was the brief and proposal. So we've got the planning. There's this design and release, because we're not building anything at this stage. Otherwise, we normally call it the design, build, and release phase. Then we've got the implementation and then the closure. So those are the 5 stages that the projects in SCL go through. So if you look at the planning, so this was kind of heavily documented. So this was where we define what the governance structure that we wanted, and then created different PMO frameworks. Then we created a plan, so the RAIDs, and then communication plan, stakeholder analysis. Then we created a highlight, a report, and a checklist report. So we went on to design and release. So this was where a lot of the work was done. So we went about creating different templates that we spoke about, and different, this was where we created the templates anyway for during the design and the release phases. So that's what we went through, and we got a sign off for most of them. Quite a few times we were told to kind of go back and work on, different parts of the template based on what the business wanted. So which we did, and came back, presented it to in our delivery update meetings. We have that once a week. So we present our different deliverables that we're working on, and we seek approval from the business.
So I've got a question quickly. So as a project coordinator, because I know that's the role that you're in now, where do you think that will fit into? Because I'm thinking, okay, this probably might be a project manager who will be responsible for planning, but as a project coordinator, can you just tell us, how do you plug into working and supporting the projects, just so that people will understand?
Okay. As project coordinator, I coordinated different activities. So like setting up meetings, meeting notes, action logs, and things like that. Also, like if you're talking about my role now, my role is kind of like a hybrid role, because when when I was offered the role, so I was coming in as a project coordinator / a project manager. So even though I'm a project coordinator, I still work on the plan in my organization that I am. So I created a plan, and some work streams I used an Excel sheet, and another work stream I use a Microsoft Planner. So it varies. Like I was saying, different establishments, different organizations, they work differently. But normally I coordinate different tasks, different activities. I also liaise with our external. We use a lot of vendors. So my role also is to coordinate different activities between the vendors and our set of our team. Sometimes our team needs to maybe get a document ready for the vendors. So I chase to make sure that we don't go above the timeline, in giving to the vendors what they want, so that project can just go on. So just having to monitor things on a daily basis. So it's just monitoring different tasks, monitoring different activities, different deliverables, and just making sure that things run smoothly within the department that I work in, because I work in the IT department of my own organization. So I'm responsible for coordinating activities within the ITS.
Okay, there you go. So guys, I think it just depends where you find yourself. Also depends where your area of interest, you know. So project coordination, project management, project support roles cut across the board, you know. So it just depends whether you want to go into the health sector, you want to go into maybe financial services, you know, retail. You can actually function across any of those sectors, either as a PMO, a project coordinator, or a project support. I thought that PMO role is more of monitoring and governance. So tutor, it does depend pretty much. So I think like Tayo has said, so there's still that governance side of things, of course.
Yes.
So, yeah, which of course the PMO might be responsible for. So even in SCL, I know that's something that we also try to get people to learn how to. So we have 1 or 2 people who support the program office, and they are looking at the governance side of things to ensure that, okay, policies, processes, and all of those things that have been put in place, frameworks have been adhered to. And there is also the monitoring aspect. So your risk and your issues, your dependencies, assumptions, and all. We don't want to get too technical on this call, but that is also the place of a project coordinator can do that, can manage raids, or some organizations, they might just dump it on the PMO analyst. So like Taya has said, it just differs. You know, organizations differ in the way that they make use of these job responsibilities, as it were. So sometimes the title may actually not be what you find yourself doing. You know, you find yourself that, oh yeah, it's a PMO analyst, and then you get in there and you are a project admin. You find yourself carrying out project admin activities and things like that. So, and that is not to say that it doesn't happen. It does happen. So it's now left for you to say, right, this isn't what I wanted. And so you can leave and just say, oh, or even speak to somebody to say, oh, I thought this role was a PMO analyst role, but I find myself doing, you know, just booking meetings and chasing up and booking sending out raids and stuff like that. So these things can be used interchangeably and they vary, but then it's just left, you know, to you. But then it's good to have an understanding of what these roles entail. Then you can determine what your area of interest in, and then you start working on developing the relevant skills and competencies that you require. Right, we've gone on for longer than planned. We're going to wrap it up now, and I hope you found this useful. So we have put a link on so please go to the chat and click on the link. I thought that PMO, okay, I think I've covered that already. So somebody was asking how long the course is, how much it is. Click on the link. Now we are making an offer, and this offer is going to be on just for 3 days. And we're calling this the masterclass offer. So we've put the link there again. And so you can either today, if you sign up between now and 72 hours, for everything that we said, you have access to our tools, you have access to learning management system, access to our in-house mentors. You also have reference from us, you work on projects, all of that. Today, we're offering that at $997. So you can actually take that, or you can do the 3 installments, and that is the offer that we are making. This is normally more than this, but every now and then we make this offer, but it will only be available if you sign up within the next 72 hours. So we're going to wrap it up now. Thank you, Esther. And if you've got any questions, you can also book a call. Thank you, Tayo. Thank you. You can also book a call or DM and just ask me any questions at all. So if you do sign up, you get a chance, let me just, to take this offer that we are making, but it's only available for the next 3 days. We would like to invite you, would like you to come on. We have a lot of people who have been on this program, and today they are excelling and advancing in their career. You will get lots of support from us, which you may not get in other places, because we don't leave anybody behind. So all you just need is to tell us, I'm struggling here, and somebody will help you. So thank you for being here till the end, but that's the offer, and I hope that a few of you will take advantage of this offer, and I look forward to being able to support you. The recording will be available in the next, say, 2 days. I think by end of day tomorrow, we should have converted, and everyone who has signed up will receive the recording. Thank you very much for being here. No, thank you, Amanda. Thank you very, very much. And you will get the recording. And I hope to see some of you join Sterling Career. So take care and enjoy the rest of your evening. The link is in the chat. Copy that and save it so you can have a look at it later. Good night, everybody, and God bless.